Poet and essayist Ross Gay wrote a beautiful book some years ago called The Book of Delight. In it, he had a series of reflections on the day-to-day life and how he found delight in all sorts of ways. Some of it was kind of expected. Delight in a beautiful meal. Delight at encountering a friend after not seeing them for a long time. Oh, delight at a sunset after a long hike on a mountain. Delight. You can imagine it yourself now. But then he surprises us. He turns it on us. He tells us he finds delight in so many other ways. Delight in a difficult conversation with the Burger King cashier after a wrong order. Delight? Oh, delight after having a person, sideswipe them on a road going home. Delight? Oh, delight after seeing a picture of something that did not seem quite right. Was he looking at the right thing? Delight. He finding joy not just in the most mundane things, but at times in the difficult things. We're in the midst of a sermon series called Alegria, finding joy in these days. And if we're honest with ourselves, for so many of us, these days are difficult. We are struggling to find joy in these days. We, like Ross Gay, might be wondering, finding, looking, where is the joy? But if we look carefully, we might be surprised. In the most human moments, in the most everyday encounters, if we're looking carefully, we might just find it. Jesus was living such an everyday kind of life in our text today. He was going to a wedding. Now, we must recognize something. This is not like a wedding we're used to today. I mean, we dress up and we show up at the church and, 30-minute or so ceremony, and then the real party begins. You go to a reception, and maybe you're there for 3 to 4 hours, and you celebrate. It's good, it's wonderful, it's beautiful. But in these days, these were days-long affairs. This wasn't just family members who showed up and some friends. No. The entire neighborhood would show up to this gathering of people. The entire community would surround the couple in this new venture of life together. It was a party. It reminds me of the party some of my neighbors throw. The moment that spring is really here, it's just a few blocks away from my house. The barbecue pit is pulled out. The music is brought up. Pretty quickly, coolers with drinks come out. And it seemed like every Saturday around noon, it's a party. Everyone welcome. All you have to do is walk a few blocks from my house, and there you are in the middle of it. Kids playing outside and water, toys coming out. It is a party indeed. This is the kind of party that Jesus finds himself in. And everything's going extremely well until there is a crisis. Oh, Mary, the mother of Jesus, understand that this is a crisis. And there's another sermon here about that encounter between Jesus and his mama. It's interesting, isn't it? But that's not the sermon today. That parenting sermon is for another day. There is a crisis, a difficult moment. in the midst of this party. Something could happen that might stop the party from continuing. The wine has run out, and someone needs to do something about it. And Mary knows exactly who could do something about this problem. Like Ross Gay, we know that often it is in that problem. Oh, it might be as insignificant as wine running out at a party. Or it might be larger than that. Those moments where it looks like there's not enough. Not just not enough joy or delight, but not enough of basic needs. Not enough contentment. Not enough peace. Often not enough imagination. Those moments of struggle, trial, tribulation, those moments of grief and pain, those moments that seems to be incessant in keeping us from experiencing joy, those moments come in our life. Sometimes they come to us without us ever expecting them. They surprise us. Sometimes for some of us, it might seem like we are in a whole seasons of joylessness and despair. Some of us might not even remember what joy looks like, what delight feels like. This ancient story tells us that that's part of the human condition, but that it doesn't stop there. In fact, over and over again in this ancient text, it tells us something else, that there's something about that moment that actually can birth the most joyous thing. There's something about that moment, the ancient text tells us. The psalmist tells us that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. The New Testament reminds us often and over and over again that the struggle brings endurance, and endurance provides us with the joy that we need. The book of Revelation reminds us that when the things get really, really bad, we're just almost there to a new creation. So in some ways, we might say that we are a people who recognize that actually it is in the weeping, it is in the struggle, it is in the poverty of spirit, it is in the difficult moments that our real encounter with joy emerges, that real delight emerges. And so today, Jesus shows up when it seems like there's not enough of something needed, and shocks us with a display of goodness, grace, and mercy like no other in the midst of this gathering of people. See, one of the things that we learn about joy and delight is that it's best experienced and best encountered in community. So it is in that community, in that encounter, that Jesus comes. And for our ears in 2024, we might not recognize the beauty of this moment, but for these ancients who were first hearing it, they knew the clues to this narrative. They sensed that something was about to happen. See, these ancients were too struggling. The first hearers of the story were in the midst of a difficult season in their life. They were under the thumbs of an imperial power. They were struggling with the day-to-day of life. They were living in such poverty that we couldn't comprehend it. They were living with such a hardship, high taxation, and in constant threat of violence that they could easily find themselves struggling to even imagine a new day. They also knew that their ancient story promised something to them. He promised them that a day would come when they would be freed from that bondage. He promised them that liberation was around the corner. He promised them that this current situation was not going to be forever. And at the center of that hope was an image for them. The great feast would one day break into history. The land with milk and honey would reemerge again, a place where the food would flow from the earth, a place where the wine will be outpoured in ways beyond their wildest imagination. So those ancients heard this story. The wine runs out. They knew what that felt like. But now Jesus comes. In Jesus' mere presence and power provides them not just with more wine. No. With the best wine. And not just with enough wine to keep on going a few more hours in their party. Oh, no, folks, this was grander than that. There was wine beyond their wildest imagination. It was abundant beyond their wildest dreams. It flowed and it flowed and it flowed. And the hopes of that community, I can just see them now. The hopes that they had, they knew. I don't know where you are here today. Maybe it's been a while since you've experienced hope. Wholeness and new life. It's been a while since you have known delight and joy in your own life. I don't know why you showed up through those doors this week. But the promise of that ancient story from long ago is the promise for you today too. That wine of God is being outpoured for you. The wine of forgiveness and reconciliation being poured out beyond your wildest imagination. The wine of new life, the wine of possibility, the wine of imagination, the wine of freedom, the wine of comfort in the midst of pain, the wine of abundance beyond measure, the wine of joy and delight in the day of life for you, for your neighbor, and for the world. Oh, that wine being poured out to this day. So people of God, pay attention. Like Russ Gay, if you're attentive long enough, you'll see. You'll see this wine bubbling up in ways unexpected. You'll feel it deep in your bones. Delight emerging, joy found. All of a sudden, the party gets started. And we can't contain our excitement. There is enough. There is more than enough. Abundance is found. Maybe the church should party a little more. We ain't dancing today, but maybe we should party a little more and gather with neighbors and friends and celebrate that there is enough. And all of a sudden, joy indeed comes. Yes, indeed, in the morning. Thanks be to God. Amen.